Good morning. Okay, that's working. That's always a good sign. Excuse me. My name is Stephanie Walton, and I am a co-chair of the Climate Justice Project here at First Unitarian, and am so happy to see everyone. It's good that you're all here this morning. Whoever you love, whoever you are, whether you carry joy or sorrow in your heart, you are welcome here. All people of goodwill are warmly invited to join us on this great journey of the mind, the heart, and the spirit. If this is your first time with us today, please let the offering basket pass you by when it comes around. Your presence is gift enough. We hope you will join us for coffee and conversation in the community room after the service. We would love to get to know you and answer any questions you might have. During the coffee hour, please introduce yourself to someone who's carrying a yellow coffee mug. I think they have like little cheery smiley faces on them, so that we may get to know you better. You can also learn about the congregation's, learn more about us, on the congregation's website, where you can find our weekly email blast with information about activities and groups within the church. And is today a first or third Sunday? It is, okay. On our first and third Sundays of the month, the offering at First Unitarian is donated to an organization from the Denver community, which has been chosen by the Giving in Action Committee of our Faith in Action Council. We will learn about the organization chosen to share our financial resources later in the service. I do have a couple of short additional announcements from the Climate Justice Circle. We have an opportunity for the congregation to engage more fully with us through a book reading. We are reading the book All We Can Save. I will be available after the service to answer questions, and I think I might have a couple copies of the book. You can sign up to join us for a conversation about that book on either March 5th, Sunday, March 5th, following the service, and that will be here at the church in person, or on March 7th, and I believe that's a Tuesday evening, and that'll be over Zoom. So we tried to give a couple of different options to work with different schedules of folks. I would also like to thank our guest musician this morning, Peter Stoltzman. Thank you for being here. And I believe Brian might be sharing a little bit more about him later this morning. And finally, if you can all turn off your devices, anything that beeps and buzzes, so that you can be fully present with us in this next hour. And please now turn and greet those around you for a few minutes before we move on.
Please join me in singing our song of welcome. Whether this is your first or second time here, or perhaps you're here every Sunday, you are welcome here. And to those of us who are joining us virtually, you particularly are welcome. Please join me in singing. We are many, we are one, the light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul, a place has been made for you. Welcome.
Whoa, there we are. I have one more announcement this morning. I just took off my Climate Justice co-chair hat and put on my Committee on Ministry member hat. The Committee on Ministry is currently doing our annual evaluation of Reverend Mike Moran and the ministry of this church. You can find a link to a short, I promise, survey in First Announce. So please take a look at that, fill that out. We would love your feedback. We've changed it up a little bit this year to make it a little more meaningful for all of us and for Reverend Moran. So take a look for that, and in future Sundays we'll have some folks here to answer any questions and talk with you about that if you're interested. Thank you and welcome.
Hello, I'm Reverend Cindy. Just such a pleasure to be with you this morning. I really love you all. I really look forward to every time I get to come and be with you. It's just so awesome. So thank you for having me back, always. So I want to start our call to worship this morning with a poem by Jan Richardson called After Eden. The ancient texts tell that my husband accumulated 930 years before he died. They do not tell that I survived him, nothing but sinew and muscle and bone, shed of everything. Mother of all living, my mate had named me. But what of my sons, dead or gone? Abel in the ground, long ages now, and Cain forever wandering. After we buried Adam, dust to dust, I returned to the borders of Eden. The cherubim at the gate looked tired, and the sword once flaming now gave a dull glow. A snakeskin twisted in the breeze, rasping and hollow, an empty thing. 100 years from now, if they unearth my bones, they will see the imprint of leaves. Along every one, testimony to the secret that even Adam, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, did not know. I took the tree with me the day I left Eden. The day I decided not to die, the day I chose instead to sink my roots in the soil of this terrible, stunning world. Welcome to worship.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Kenworthy. I'm your Director of Religious Exploration. Hi, Eliza. If you're young or young at heart, come on up. I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine today. And I wanted to remind y'all, if you didn't know, that we have children's choir practice today with Charlotte after the service. Yeah. All right, so my question for you as you're coming up today is, do you feel real today? You feel real? Do you feel loved today? Okay, cool. I heard some yeses. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear is the same age as me. Me and Mr. Bear met each other before I was 1, and Mr. Bear has gone lots of places with me. He's lost a couple pieces along the way, as we do when we age, but still very lovable and still in my world. So, have you seen the movie Toy Story? Yeah? You know that concept where toys become alive? Yeah, when the humans aren't around? Right, so that idea has been around for a really long time before Toy Story. There was Pinocchio, right? It's kind of along that lines. And then there's this book called The Velveteen Rabbit. Yeah, oh, see, now people are nodding their heads, yeah. Where there were there was a nursery, and the toys in there would talk to each other and have conversations. And one of those conversations, for me, felt like it needed to be shared, because this month we're talking about the concept of love, right? And so I asked you earlier if you felt real or if you felt loved, and those things might be similar to each other. So, I want you to imagine in your brain, if you can, imagine a nursery, an old nursery, with a wooden rocking horse that has a leather seat and some rope for hair and a tail, and then maybe an old train set, and then maybe some old-looking stuffed animals, not unlike Mr. Bear. And imagine then that there are no humans in the nursery and that those toys are having a conversation, all right? So the rocking horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs of his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and then, by and by, break their mainsprings and pass away, and he knew that they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced, like the rocking horse, understood all about it. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the rocking horse. "It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. Not just to play with, but really loves you. Then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the rocking horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?" he asked. "Or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the rocking horse. "You become. It takes a long time, and that's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand." "I suppose you are real," said the rabbit. And then he wished he had not said it, for he thought maybe the rocking horse might be sensitive. But the rocking horse only smiled. "The boy's uncle made me real," he said. "That was a great many years ago. But once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always." Weeks passed, and the little rabbit grew very old and shabby. But the boy loved him just as much. He loved him so hard that he loved all his whiskers off, and the pink lining to his ears turned gray, and his brown spots faded. He even began to lose his shape, and he scarcely looked like a rabbit anymore, except to the boy. To him, he was always beautiful, and that was all that the little rabbit cared about. He didn't mind how he looked to other people because nursery magic had made him real. When you are real, shabbiness doesn't matter. That was from The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams Bianco. And I want to follow that by telling each of you that you are all very much real. And you are all very much loved. And we are all children, or were at some point, and can continue to be so, who are sharing our love and making others real by sharing that love. So, you are loved just as you are, where you are, exactly how you are today. And Mr. Bear would really like you to join us in singing our children and youth to their very real programming this morning. Thank you.
Before I invite you to sing with me some more, I just want to take a moment. Peter Stoltzman's been a part of our community for a long time, and we're really excited to have him and 3 other musicians play as part of our Capitol Hill Concerts concert series that's here on March 4th. They'll be playing tracks off their new album that released recently called Spiraling Inward, so I hope you'll all plan to join us that evening. Would you please rise in body and or spirit? And we'll be selling tickets during coffee hour. Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing number 207 out of the Gray Hymnal, Earth Was Given as a Garden. The words will also be behind me on the screens. Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, place for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea, all created in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life flows fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more will Eden flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet-wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid our waste and warfare cease. Fill us
Morning, folks. I'm Arnie from the Giving in Action team, and I'm up here with Carol, who's also on the Giving in Action team. Today's collection will be donated to the folks that are affected by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. It's just a devastating disaster. 46,000 and more dead, tens of thousands left homeless. People, it's winter. People need health care, shelter, food. And I can't help but imagine what the response to this disaster might look like without decades, centuries of colonialism and racism and of course corruption. And Carol's going to talk about the organization we're working with.
Thanks, Arnie. And corruption is always a concern in that part of the world. And so we looked for a place where we could feel confident that our donations were not going to be corrupted. Grand Circle Travel was founded in 1958. I don't know if any of you have traveled with them. I have a couple of times. They're wonderful. They started a foundation in 1992 in order to give back to some of the areas where they travel. And relief is one of their focuses. It's a unique setup because there is a second foundation that pays all of the overhead and salary costs for the Grand Circle Foundation. So every dollar that you give to the Grand Circle Foundation goes to, in this case, their relief efforts. There's no overhead taken out. They have regional leaders. Two of their regional leaders in Turkey are who they went to immediately. In this instance, their regional general manager for Central Asia, their executive vice president of worldwide contracting, and they're working with one of their trip leaders who originally is from Adana, one of the cities hit by the earthquake. So you can see that they have on-the-ground connections. They immediately wired $14,000 to Mehmet to purchase and deliver supplies, drinking water, food, staples, that kind of thing. All were delivered to mobile kitchens under the permission of local authorities. They also have worked with the Joint Distribution Committee in the area, which has partnered with the Jewish community of Turkey. I didn't even know there was such, to provide immediate relief such as shelter, portable heating, winter clothes, food, and medicine. The Joint Distribution Committee has more than 100 years of experience providing relief in some of the hardest places, in some of the hardest times. So this is an update from the foundation, just from a few days ago. And they said that they would match the first $100,000 of donations they received. So in 1 week's time, they raised $221,000, so for a total of over $300,000. They immediately wired $213,000 to their regional office and trusted partners. Some interesting things: trucks of water and food supplies, medical supplies, and they asked what are the needs. They needed cold weather clothing. So the foundation purchased 700 sweaters and solicited 40 sweaters and 500 coats from the same vendor. We'll buy this, you give us that. They've already been delivered to the earthquake zone. The local community identified clean underwear as the next urgent need. Not something we would think about, but those supplies are packed and will be deployed. They are also working with Doc Hendley, founder of Wine to Water, which is, their goal is to get water filters, reverse osmosis systems, and water testing in place over the next 4 to 6 weeks to serve 50,000 people. The cost is $3 to $5 per person. They're already in place in Turkey and Syria, establishing temporary shelters and tents, providing hot meals, setting up heaters, providing children with boots, blankets, and jackets. So we would ask for your help in supporting this organization. It's one that we know where we know that everything we give is going to the relief effort. The baskets will be coming around today as usual, and as always, if you prefer or you're watching us online, you can give online through the Breeze or setup. Just make sure that you go to the drop down for Giving in Action. Thank you very much.
Your donations freely given are gratefully received by the people of this congregation and the people whom they will support. Thank you all. So join me, if you will, in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Holy One, known by many beautiful names, known by the names of love and wisdom and gratitude, Spirit, Great One, Supreme Being, I just ask your presence this morning in this room, in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies. I ask that you bless us with peace and fortitude and joy and delight. I ask that everything that's on our hearts is just taken care of, lifted up to you, offered up for you to just handle and take care of, so that we can just really be about the business of enjoying our lives, enjoying each other, walking the path that's laid out before us with great ease and grace, so that we can be present with each other, so that we can really see each other without too much in the way. I really ask a great blessing on the people who survived that terrible earthquake, that they be supported, that they receive everything that they need, that their homes are rebuilt even better than before and quickly, that the winter is lenient with them. I ask support for all the people who are helping them, including us and others from around the world. I ask for great support for our politicians. Make them well, really well. Just bless them, help them. I always pray for our young ones, the folks who are children right now and the new ones coming in. Just make a way for them in the world. Keep their eyes open to hope and the beauty of this wonderful place. And for this congregation, I ask for special prayers for Barb Smith, who fell and broke her hip 10 days ago and went through surgery at Anschutz and is now in rehab. And Tyler reports that her progress is slow and her spirits are fair. Just really bring great healing to her and freedom from pain, and that she get really good care and treatment at her rehab. And I ask for all of those things deep in our hearts. They call them the sighs too deep for words. For you to just take care of them, sacred universe. Just address them, tend to them, and really pour your love out on them. For all of these things and everything I forgot or we just don't have time for this morning, I ask your blessing, Spirit. Amen.
Know how a rose hair blooming from tender stem have sprung of Jesse's lineage coming, as men of old have sung. It came a flowered bright amid the cold of winter, when half spent was the night. to show God love aright. She bore to us a Savior when half spent was the night.
In the beginning, there was the Big Bang. Though the scriptures use slightly different words. On one level, it was an explosion of rocks, dust, fire, molecules, light, matter, and all the material of the universe and all the forces between. We call them gravity and momentum and electromagnetism, but they're also known as truth, love, and energy, the three essential building blocks of the universe. The ancient desert teachers, known as the Gnostics of the 1st and 2nd century, called these forces emanations, emitted by spirit as a kind of energetic fingerprint or signature. These emanations are like ripples on a pond from a stone tossed in, spreading and growing, pointing back to their original source. Just like everything in the universe points back to the Big Bang. So we have this Big Bang, or truth, love, and energy exploding out across a space so vast we're still measuring it today. As these forces spread, they diversified and specialized to become planets, asteroids, galaxies, with the energetic signature of grace and wonder and awe, miracles, power, inspiration, and each again with that original signature of spirit, or the Big Bang. In some places, these signatures began to become physical form. One place in particular, a little blue planet that some say is sitting on the eyelash of a magnificent Buddha, so he can keep an eye on us, really started to take off. This was, of course, Earth, known in Scripture as the Garden of Eden. The first thing in the garden is a formless void, followed by light that splits the sky in two. This is followed by the creation of the waters and sky, and to the Gnostics, this would be those same emanations of spirit. The emanations of flow, femininity, and power became the seas. The emanations of heat, rhythm, and masculinity became the sun. Grace, elegance, and lightness of being is the birds. And then, of course, we have speed, attunement, and maybe flashiness, and you've got the fish. Maybe groundedness, wisdom, and generosity is our plants. And finally, rootedness, strength, and intelligence becomes the trees. 1 to 2 trees in particular, having to do with life and knowledge of good and evil. But before we get to those infamous trees, let's take a look at the inhabitants of this freshly made garden. Now, when most people talk about the Garden of Eden, they know the classic story of Adam and Eve given an eternal paradise, only to disobey their divine dad like naughty kids. They're kicked out of the house and punished for eternity, especially women. And that's why the church has to be so oppressive, so we don't misbehave again. By show of hands, who here thinks this is a helpful story? Yeah, I don't either. Which is why I did some digging into the ancient Gnostic texts and uncovered the story I want to share today. You see, the Gnostics noted some things in Genesis that made them think not all was exactly as it seemed. Let's start with the supposed gods, yes, gods, who make the little humans. Now I say gods because as they make the creature, they say, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, the livestock and the wild animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground. Who is us? Who is this we God? And who are they who feel they need dominion over other creatures? That doesn't seem to be in the spirit of paradise. And how interesting that there are not one but two accounts of the birth of the world in Genesis. It's true. As soon as the we gods bless the seventh day in chapter 1, in comes the Lord God in chapter 2 to build the world all over again, starting with the empty earths and heavens. You can read it right there in Genesis. These aren't exactly the things they point out in Sunday school, but the Gnostics sure took note. So stick a pin in that and we'll keep moving forward. The creature made by this mysterious we is the one known today as Adam or Adam, which comes from the Hebrew for one of red mud. Creature made of red mud. How lovely. And since the creators of the garden are a multitude, they decide it is not good for Adam to be alone, a decision I actually agree with. So they create the woman from the same mud as Adam, since he had some extra to share. And sharing is such a nice thing, wouldn't you agree? But of course, once you have more than one, things start to get a little interesting. Adam and the woman are given the tour of the garden, told to enjoy everything except the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Though this God says nothing about the tree of life. Another thing the Gnostics take note of. And I'll let you in on a little secret. These ancient masters believe that these two trees were actually one and the same. But we'll come to that in a moment. So the woman is walking through the garden when a snake speaks up, and the snake says to the woman, "Did God really say to you, you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" And the woman said to the serpent, "Oh, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from that tree which is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." "You will certainly not die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Well, when this woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food, pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Good for food, pleasing to the eye, and desirable for gaining wisdom. Well, that sounds really great. And what's more, the woman didn't die, which means God lied, and the snake told the truth. Now, isn't that just the opposite of what the church usually teaches? Well, the first wisdom Adam and the woman gained was that they appeared to be naked and needed some clothes. The next wisdom they gained was that they probably shouldn't say anything to the God walking through the garden, and in fact, they should probably hide. So here comes this God looking for the lovely little mud creatures and can't find them. The God cries out, "Oh, where are you?" Adam answers, "Well, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And the God said, "Oh, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from that tree which I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "Well, the woman that you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What have you done?" And the woman said, "Oh, well, the serpent deceived me, and I ate." Now, if you've ever been around children caught red-handed, you will recognize this phenomena as something known as the blame game. And in fact, it's not just children who play this game, but grown adults as well. At least the adults who haven't realized yet how good it is to take responsibility for your own actions. But the blame game is a perfectly natural part of growing up, something which might clue us into what's really going on here. Because this is where the ancient Gnostics say the story takes a turn, and this God is revealed for who it really is, a mere demiurge, which is a kind of less powerful spirit who likes to toy with human beings for its own fun. For what does this so-called God do next? Well, it curses the snake to crawl on its belly for the rest of its life. But isn't the snake already happily crawling on its belly? Not much of a curse. Then the demiurge curses the woman with childbirth, something which is actually quite miraculous. A gift of life, a real bid for power, and a blessing of the highest degree. Painful, yes. Difficult, beyond measure. But a curse, not so much. Finally, the demiurge curses Adam to sweat and labor and produce food from the earth. Ooh, again, one of the most satisfying human endeavors we have. Much more of a labor of love than a lifelong curse. Finally, the demiurge proclaims that everyone who comes from dust, that is, the mud creatures, will return to dust again. Is that a curse or just the natural and oftentimes welcome rhythm of life? In fact, this little garden demiurge knows that the jig is up. Adam recognizes it too and immediately turns to the woman, naming her for the first time ever as Chava, or Eve, which means charismatic life, or mother of all living, a true blessing. Because you see, if you haven't figured it out yet, this garden is actually a nursery, filled with beautiful fruits and gentle animals for young souls to grow in. The tree of life, well, that's already within us. It's our birthright. It's the chakra system, if you're Hindu, the meridians, if you're Chinese or Indian, the Kabbalah, if you're Jewish, the nervous system, if you're Western, the placenta, if you're a baby of any kind. So if that tree is already ours, then what is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Well, this sermon is about to get a little spicy. It's eros, sexuality, unity, union. In other words, that massive flowering frequency of love from the Big Bang, the glue of the universe, that seed within us that gives us our intense longing for the sacred other. Also right here on this podium this morning, AKA sex. Dangerous fruit indeed. But in fact, totally appropriate, delightful, and even necessary for a healthy human being. Some might even say a rite of passage out of the garden and into adulthood when done with love and care. So of course this demiurge tells them, please don't eat that apple. It means that they will grow up and probably not want to listen to authority figures anymore. And like most growing teenagers, Adam and Chava see that demiurge parent isn't really all that powerful. In fact, They see that they're made of the same spirit signature frequencies as the demiurge, recognizing their own power, and so they leave the garden. On their way out, an angel made entirely of eyeballs and wings, known as a cherubim, guards the way to the tree of life. The Gnostics immediately understood this to mean that each one of us carrying that tree of life within us is guarded by an eyeball angel wherever we go. In other words, we took the garden with us. For how could we not, when the whole planet is essentially one huge miraculous garden full of the massive emanations of spirit from the Big Bang? And we do have that knowledge of good and evil, the path towards sacred union, the power of life and death. So, what does all of this mean to us today? Well, first of all, it's no sin to grow up. It's no sin to have sex, despite what a demiurge-led church may say. And it's actually rather healthy to outgrow your childhood authority figures. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And it's very important to seek out your own truth in this world and not just believe what someone bigger than you tells you. It also means that it is our birthright to be powerful, to create new life of any kind, to say no to childish demiurges, whether they appear as a god, a politician, or a simple tyrant. It means that each of us was born with the tree of life that can never be taken away. And it means that our free will and our various spiritual paths come from our innate understanding of the knowledge of good and evil. And the garden itself? Well, some suggest that it never stopped growing, that in all these billions of years, it has actually continued to accumulate these emanations, that the snake and the rivers and the forests and the fruits are now 10,000 times more powerful and delicious than they were for Adam and Eve. So my invitation to you this morning is to remember your power, given to you by the mother of all living. And as you leave from here today, keep your eyes peeled for the good fruits, truth-telling stakes, fearful demiurges, and the angels that protect us all. You're sure to see something good. Amen.
Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing? There are 3 parts to this hymn that our dear Leah Davis wrote. And I invite you to sing whichever one you please, but they do come at slightly different spots, and I'm going to teach them to you really quick. There's one that I'll be singing, and here's how that goes. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. I'm going to sing it a lot more, and I invite you to join me as you feel comfortable. After that, Charlotte will come in with this.
Grateful we raise, grateful we praise, grateful we raise, grateful we praise.
And after a few repeats of that, Leah will come in with this.
Source we raise, our hymn of praise.
Source
we raise, our hymn of praise.
Please sing whichever you feel moved to do so. Starting with part 1. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Part 2. For the
Grateful we raise,
For the splendor of
Grateful
the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which from
Grateful we
above
raise.
over and
Grateful
around us
we
lies.
praise.
For the beauty
Grateful
of the
we
earth.
raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which
Grateful
from
we raise.
over and
Grateful
around us
we
rise. Part
praise.
3.
Grateful we raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which from
Grateful
our
we
earth.
raise.
Over and around us
Grateful we
lies.
praise.
For the beauty
Grateful
of the
we
earth.
raise.
For the
Grateful we praise.
For the love
Grateful we raise.
over and
Grateful we praise.
For the beauty
Grateful
of
we
the earth.
raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which
Grateful
from
we raise. Grateful we praise.
For the beauty
Grateful
of
we
the
raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of
we
the
praise.
For the love which
Grateful
from
we
our
raise.
over and
Grateful
around
we
us
praise.
lies. For the beauty
Grateful we raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which from
Grateful
our
we raise.
over and
Grateful we
around us
praise.
For the beauty
Grateful
of the
we raise.
For the splendor
Grateful
of the
we
skies.
praise.
For the love which from
Grateful
our
we raise.
over and
Grateful
around us
we
lies.
praise. For the beauty of the earth. For the splendor of the skies. For the love which from our birth over and around us lies. For the beauty of the earth. For the splendor of the skies. For the love which from our birth over and around us lies.
Please join me in singing our closing affirmation.
Behind all our differences and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars, throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars.
May you go from here today knowing that you are the children of the mother of all living, and may you walk happily, joyfully, and with your own authority in this beautiful Garden of Eden. May it be so.
Our service is ended. Go in peace.